Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Mzea. Sakaleji, the headlines. Over 300 residents of KAMPASA protest over land. Former LAS president backs the abolishment of death penalty. The state maintains that President HH was right to fire High Court judge. And in international news, Gambian government to prosecute exiled ex-ruler JAMMEH. And in sports, the Chess Federation of Zambia confident of winning the 2022 Chess Olympiad. Join me with the details after this commercial.
Special announcement. We regret to announce the postponement of the Love and Marriage Business Conference from the 28th May 2022 to a later date to be announced. We regret any inconveniences caused.
Only to find I'm rested.
And now the main news in detail. Over 300 members of KAMPASA area in Chongwe district have held a peaceful protest demanding for land from authorities. A land wrangle has persisted since the movement for multi-party democracy regime has left the community stranded as they claim to have lived on the 150 acres of land since 1984. They have since demanded answers as the land is now being developed by unknown people suspected to be connected to high profiles. Community Chairman Jatel Zulu has called for President Hakainde's Hichilema's intervention.
They have lived on this land since 1984. History has it that this land was owned by a foreign national, commonly known as Galoon, who later handed this 150 hectares piece of land to the state, while these people only settled on a small portion by the side. Since then, families multiplied, thereby increasing the population for KAMPASA Stage A of Chongwe District. They since turned to government then to give them this land for settlement. Previous governments from MMD promised to grant this request to them. It is also said that during campaigns, the United Party for National Development, UPND, also committed to that promise. Fast forward to May 2022, they woke up to a shock that a non-developer has jumped on the site, to which they ask who is behind this. They have since held peaceful protests demanding for answers. Mr. Jatel Zulu is the community chairman who spoke to Camnet News.
KAMPASA. So now, people, we are just surprised to see that the activities have started without knowing anything. So it has taken people now to say, what is it that is happening? That's why people have gathered here to protest the land that we were promised by the president and the area member of parliament.
In the history ya ino KAMPASA kwa maboma nifuna itiyangane papali inkani kositaenda office to office
kumunzi tingale pamalo pano makulira pano nisaenda branch kumunzi kumunzi nizo yako nachonera muno bana nipisa paka malo kachitipasa kangoni so tizankala branch pakuti mwatiyambira kudala kuvutika na wano malo na manje tikali kuvutika.
They expressed disappointment and requested the Republican president's intervention.
Fama mzungu angalole mzungu kwesa mtengo fama mzungu na kumkulisanso bari triki pamena hapo na papata i group of government mwapela mutengana maniki pamena hapa wao infinitive futa wa tu futa wa president ngalepo nife wantu professor akeni wantu andala mawa abantu andala masovota bantu andala masovota o vota ni bantu sauka wana
so tifati pushinge ngani tavutika maningi pa tipe chochita manje talema na malo wano manje takulira pa designer kuti.
And some members of the community have demonstrated how severe the situation is in this community.
Vera tadanda ula kudala ni amina yonani manyumba amini tigonamo ni soja abe apeza tigumukira kuri this year tilibe ponkala na wana ni soja abe mawao na wose bana
tina wana masiye na mwana odwala kulibekwa ninga wapereke amuna wanatisiye so vaninga pembe chaba titandize kutapapata
enzo kamba we kakalako so ni shimuzako kirako muwayo mu maye twadabwa tiembekezera tidabwa futi muwaba mbuse uwe
toilet tizaenda kuti vatipoka sanga yatu isanga benze vanatipasa olo vaedika lungu olo vasata vaiziva nkhani maesanga isitizi vanabwera mukukilina mwatipoka.
Meanwhile, Chongwe District UPND Vice Treasurer Oliver Kabanja have assured the people of Kampasa, saying the party is aware of the challenges they are facing.
So osati muzitela masuku pa bantu mwabwela tino bantu tuvoteleni, then at the end of it mwabadampinga like that. Kansi pa bantu ndiye pokuwelela so that munkale reach because ya bantu kuvutika kwa bantu. So as a party we stand with you and we will support you so that this land must be given back to you people.
They wait for powers that be to intervene. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, Chongwe District.
Law Association of Zambia former President George Chisanga has welcomed President Hakainde Hichilema's pronouncement that the United Party for National Development has taken a stance to abolish the death penalty. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Chisanga says the country has been heading towards this direction as many Zambians have been suggesting for its removal. He says people have become civilized to a point of realizing that executing someone does not solve the problem, hence advocating for a more reformatory punishment on the offender. Meanwhile, former minister in the office of the Vice President during the reign of MMD, Gaston Sichilima, says the president needs to be careful with making pronouncements that change the direction of wind in the country.
The pronouncement by His Excellency the President of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, to repeal the death penalty from the Zambian Constitution has stirred debate among stakeholders. The death penalty, which has been left untouched for almost 25 years now, was last invoked by the late former President Frederick Chiluba, as all other succeeding presidents had never signed anyone for the execution role. However, on the eve of Africa Freedom Day, His Excellency the President called for the removal of the death penalty from the Zambian statutes in pursuit for rehabilitation of offenders whilst justice is being served. The former president for the Law Association of Zambia, George Chisanga, has welcomed this pronouncement, saying the country has been heading to this trajectory as seen from the renaming of prisons to correctional facilities in a bid to move from retribution to rehabilitation of offenders and preservation of life.
To that protocol. That protocol was renewed as an optional protocol in 1989 by the UN. But in Zambia, we have tried many times to address ourselves to this topical subject. In 1990, under the Bunga Constitutional Review Commission program, people also were asked whether we should continue to maintain the death penalty as a punishment in our statute. Given the fact that now we were returning to multi-party state system and we were going to have, among other things, a set of guaranteed freedoms in the Constitution. So the Constitution confers the right to life. And then it's curtailed by saying you can take away the right to life when you are meting out a punishment under the law. But people from the time of Bunga Commission, and even the commission that was appointed by Levi Patrick Manawasa in 2002, people have said repeatedly that they would like to have the death penalty abolished. So the general population, the majority of the Zambian population, is that we shouldn't continue with this very grievous punishment on individuals that are found to fall foul with the law.
Meanwhile, the Operation Save the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD President Gaston Chilima says the decision to remove the death penalty should come from the people and not from the presidency, as they are the ones who stand to be affected. He says the removal calls for long-term procedures which need an active participation of citizens through a referendum.
Such pronouncements in most cases are supposed to come from the people, meaning the government needs to go for consultations and the referendum is supposed to be called for, because there's also a procedure of calling a referendum. There has to be a very, very wide consultation. But it's also a warning that most of my colleagues, especially those that are appointed as cabinet ministers, and especially those that are surrounding the president, they need to manage presidency, because anything that the president announces becomes a policy.
Mr. Chilima further added that people should not abuse the presidency, as anything said once holding that position automatically becomes a policy. Mercy Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
The government has acknowledged that Zambia has the potential to cut the huge expenditure from fertilizer importation by building locally available capacity in the production of fertilizer. Capricorn Fertilizer Company has indicated that it has the capacity to complete government's aspiration of producing cheap fertilizer to boost agriculture productivity. Capricorn Fertilizer Director Lucky Kanjolo says they are currently producing 60 tons per day and that organic fertilizer is costing between 300 and 350 kwacha for a 50-kilogram bag compared to organic fertilizer, which is going between 700 and 800 kwacha. Meanwhile, Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises Development, Elias Muwanga, who visited the plant, has assured the government will provide the necessary support to build the capacity of the firm to spur job creation while reducing the cost of fertilizer in the country.
Zambia has been grappling with the high production costs in the agriculture sector, and the purchasing of imports takes up the larger chunk of the sector budget under the Farmers Import Support Program, FISEP. Earlier this week, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema disclosed that government is working together with farmers and fertilizer suppliers to reduce the cost of fertilizer and to have the commodity produced locally. Zambia has an opportunity to reduce the imports of expensive chemical fertilizer by utilizing nitrogen chemicals of Zambia, and the private sector, based in Lusaka West, is Capricorn Fertilizer Company, which uses local solutions to produce organic fertilizer, among other products. The firm has employed 100 people, mostly women, to produce fertilizer that goes along with a competitive price. Capricorn Fertilizer Director Lucky Kanjolo says they have the capacity to complement the government's effort of making crop farming cheaper using local organic fertilizer, which are good and effective compared to chemical fertilizers.
Well, we're looking between $3.5 to $4 million that can help us to set up all the necessary equipments that we want to do, and the plant, setting up a plant here as well as in Kasama. We are ready to go. If we have the capacity now, then we are talking that between September, November, we've started producing already. Organic D compound fertilizer is trading at 350 kwacha. Compared to others who are selling fertilizer in this nation, they are selling 800, others 850, others up to 900 kwacha. But to us, it's low. It's 350 kwacha only per bag, a 50 kg bag of fertilizer.
The firm, which uses locally sourced materials to produce fertilizer, however, in order to effectively save the nation, it needs a push from the government.
That we're just using one dryer, and we are having an order of 10,000 tons. How can we reach that? We fail because of the challenges that we have. So we are urging and appealing to the government. We are appealing for help. They help us with machinery so that we can able to manage to supply to our clients. It's very good that Zambians now have realized that organic is the way to go. Yes, so we are hoping that if the government helps us, meaning we are able to supply and make Zambia an organic nation.
Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises Development, Elias Muwanga, has assured that government will support the firm to meet fertilizer demands, given that the project is in tune with government's desire to reduce the cost of agriculture production and steer job creation.
According to what they've told me, where I'm stepping, this is already sold to our farmers. So the only issue they are also facing and crying for is to make sure that they scale up. They need more dryers, especially during the rain season. So we will look into that as government. This is why this ministry was created, is to develop, these innovations, and we'll make sure that we help out. Because imagine if this can be developed to high productive scale, and then they can supply to the entire country, then the government will save a lot.
It is possible to prioritize local solutions while thinking global. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The state has submitted before the Constitutional Court that President Hakainde Hichilema acted within the Constitution when he fired Lusaka High Court Judge Joshua Banda on the 6th of May 2022. This is in a case in which recently fired High Court Judge Joshua Banda has petitioned the Constitutional Court challenging his dismissal by President Hakainde Hichilema from the office of a High Court Judge and is seeking an interim order to stay the decision. However, the Judicial Complaints Commission argues that his reliefs cannot be granted because the decision of the President has already been executed.
On the 6th of May 2022, President Hakainde Hichilema fired Lusaka High Court Judge Joshua Banda from the office of High Court Judge. His firing followed recommendations in the report presented to the President by the Judicial Complaint Commission. The head of state fired Mr. Banda for mischievous behavior in his execution of his mandate. Unhappy with the dismissal, Mr. Banda then rushed to the Constitutional Court challenging the same. Mr. Banda wants an interim order to stay the decision made by the President to remove him from the office of Judge of the High Court and recalling the letters patent which constitute him as a High Court Judge. He has cited the Attorney General as the respondent. However, in an affidavit in opposition for the order to stay the decision, Commission Secretary at the Judicial Complaints Commission, Naisa Makaleta, has submitted that JCC acted within the confines of the law, hence the petition commenced by Mr. Banda does not stand. Further arguing that the President acted within the Constitution when he released him of his duties. The Commission has since urged the court not to entertain his petition to stay the decision made by the President on grounds that the petition does not have high prospects of success because Mr. Banda used the wrong mode of commencement. Mr. Banda in his petition also wants a declaration that the justification of the JCC to hear complaints against judges does not extend to matters that happen prior to a judge's appointment to the office of judge, as the same is the preserve of the President, Judicial Service Commission, and the National Assembly. Mr. Banda also wants an order quashing the President's decision to accept the recommendations of the JCC to remove him as judge and recalling the letters patent that constitute him. Cherish Sibote, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Opposition Patriotic Front Secretary General Nixon Chilangwa has told the Lusaka High Court that his lawsuit against the state is not an attempt to circumvent the Drug Enforcement Commission from conducting their criminal investigations against the Patriotic Front Party, but they have merely failed to deduce or comprehend the questions which the pleadings have raised. This is in a matter in which Mr. Chilangwa, in his capacity as the Secretary General for the PF, has filed a lawsuit against government in the Lusaka High Court to stop security agencies from intimidating and illegal questioning members of the party.
The opposition Patriotic Front Party has continued before the Lusaka High Court with its plea, seeking the court's intervention to stop the law enforcement agencies from further intimidating and illegally questioning them so that they can disclose their source of campaign funds in the just-ended 12 August 2021 general elections. Mr. Nixon Chilangwa, who has sued government in his capacity as Party Secretary General, wants the court to determine whether the Drug Enforcement Commission has got the constitutional or statutory mandate to compel the party to disclose its source of fundings used in the 2021 campaigns. In an affidavit in opposition of notice of motion to dismiss the action on a point of law, Mr. Chilangwa has argued that the pleadings raised by the party in the lawsuit have been looked upon by the Court of Competence of Jurisdiction, hence the case cannot be tamed to be an abuse of court process. This is in a matter in which the Patriotic Front Party wants the Lusaka High Court to stop security agencies from intimidating and illegally questioning members of the party. The party further claims that the Attorney General, who they have cited in this matter as the respondent, is trying to use government machinery to stop them from being heard by the courts of law by filing such a time-wasting application, of which is requiring the court to dismiss their case, and the same application ought to be dismissed with cost being awarded to them. The party is also seeking that government pays its damages for intimidation and harassment of its members. We wait to see how this case unfolds. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Patriotic Front PAMBASA Member of Parliament Ronald Chitotela has denied allegations before the Lusaka High Court that he acquired property that was recently seized by the Anti-Corruption Commission through corrupt means. This is in a case in which Mr. Chitotela has been sued by Azadi Investment in the High Court for allegedly owing the company over 6 million kwacha that was meant as payment for the construction of his house. The lawmaker states that he entered into an agreement with Azadi Investment Limited to build his house and only paid it a total of 3,150,000 kwacha only, leaving a balance of 6,650,000 kwacha.
Opposition Patriotic Front PAMBASA constituency Member of Parliament Ronald Chitotela has refuted claims before the Lusaka High Court that his house located in Chongwe that was recently seized by the Anti-Corruption Commission was acquired by corrupt means. This is in a case in which Mr. Chitotela, a former Minister of Tourism, has been dragged to the Lusaka High Court by Azadi Investments Limited for non-payment of 6.5 million and rebased kwacha to Azid, the company contracted to construct his house. Mr. Chitotela has however admitted owing the company money and that he has only paid 3,150 million to the construction company. According to a statement of claim that was earlier filed before court by Azid Investment, it stated that on August 8, 2018, it entered into a construction agreement with the former Minister of Tourism for the construction of his house in Chongwe at the sum of 9,650 million plus the corresponding VAT. The company is seeking an order compelling Mr. Chitotela to clear the balance, including the corresponding value-added tax. In his defense, the petitioner denied having acquired the property through corrupt means, saying he entered into a contract to buy the property in question as bare land in 2017 with Mr. Rumin at 1 million kwacha. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
In other news, Operation Save the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy leader Gaston Sichilima has added on the pressure over the MMD presidency currently being held by Dr. Nevas Mumba. According to Mr. Sichilima, quoting some parts in the party constitution, Dr. Mumba's term of office ended Tuesday 25th of May 2022, hence should not be responsible for leading the party. Mr. Sichilima, who is also former minister in the office of the vice president, notes that this means that the MMD should hold its elective council within the period of 3 months. He has since encouraged other party members to stay put and ensure that the party is back to normalcy under the new leadership.
Despite being in power for 27 years, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD existence is being questioned as succession wrangles of who takes the front leadership of the party deepen. Two factions led by Gaston Sichilima and Dr. Nevas Mumba have emerged within the MMD as the duo claim all the party's constitutional rights are in their favor. Now, in the turn of event, the Save MMD Operation faction has reached out to Dr. Mumba to resign and stop masquerading as party president when in fact not. Mr. Sichilima cites that Dr. Mumba's tenure of presidency expired yesterday, 25th May 2022, as he was at the helm of the party's highest position for 10 years since 25th May 2012.
Men and women. Since Dr. Nevas Mumba claims that he is a man of integrity and morality by stating that the Honorable Felix Mutati was MMD president for 3 years only, we challenge him to resign for now as MMD president for 2 years so that the Honorable Mutati or then his vice can finish the 2 years which remained for him to make a full 5-year term. Then Dr. Mumba can come back to lead if he so wishes. We are further shocked that today the high priest of morality, Dr. Mumba, has gone against the judgment of the learned Honorable Judge, Madam Sharon Newa, who nullified the elections of Honorable Mutati as MMD president and restored his presidency as in 2016. Finally, I would state that politics of Dr. Mumba are so inconsistent and does not believe in give and take, such that even when he knows what the provisions of the party constitution states, he has always been skating around to find a loophole to manipulate his way to continue his illegality the way he did in 2015 during the presidential by-elections, when he imposed himself as a presidential candidate without being endorsed by any organ or authority in the party, be the NEC or National Convention. He further created the political in 2016 when he refused to call the regular convention.
Mr. Sichilima has advised that in the interest of morality and integrity, Dr. Mumba and his team should take time to reflect and listen to the majority party members, and asked Dr. Mumba to call for an emergency National Executive Committee meeting where members should be endorsed, address the issue of amnesty to all party members, and lift all suspensions and expulsion of party members. Speaking during a briefing, Mr. Sichilima says Dr. Mumba should exercise care when addressing this issue and be mindful that his actions are contemptuous to the court of law, as court proceedings against him, Elizabeth Chitika, and 4 others, which include Reverend Ruben Sambo, are still active at Lusaka High Court.
From onset, I would like to state that Dr. Nevas Mumba is the former president of MMD, and this party constitution in Article 41 is very clear and instructive on the matter. It does not need any debate, as the constitution cannot be read in
the spirit of democracy. One only hopes the wrangles are resolved if checks and balances are to be offered in good faith to the current administration. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News.
Patriotic Front PF Mobilization Committee member Biswell Mtale has resigned from the former ruling party with immediate effect, citing failure to rebrand. In a later address to PF Acting Secretary General Nixon Chilangwa, dated 25th May 2022, Mtale said he believes the reason leading to this decision are known by the opposition political party. Mr. Mtale, who played a role in the 2021 elections, says he can no longer pretend that all is well in the Patriotic Front as it stands. Mr. Mtale also confirmed this when he featured on the Camnet Breakfast Show.
And my words, my voice, my actions has been loud and clearly heard. I've got to a point where I have to tell the nation that I think as Biswell Mtale, with all the energy and the effort I have put in this party, it has to come to an end with immediate effect. I will have to step down to represent the Patriotic Front and to wish to stand as the president of the Patriotic Front. It has to come to a point where we are saying we have run the race, we have worked as a team, and I think we need to get to the point where we are saying I have to do what I have to do, and say thank you to the Patriotic Front. I can no longer pretend that all is well within the Patriotic Front. Things are not well in the Patriotic Front. Things are not what you're thinking they are in Patriotic Front. As for one, I am not going to go on and tabulating as I have done before.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the...
She has so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
We take risks every day, with some big things and some little things. Other risks are out of our control. But no matter what's important in your life, Savenda Insurance has got you covered. Whether it's for your home, vehicle, investments, or the people you love, you shouldn't have to worry about securing the future. Let us handle that. Since 2014, we have helped Zambians protect their health and personal property, offering peace of mind and fostering progress and development. Taking risks is what makes us grow. Insurance is what keeps us going strong.
Welcome back. We continue with the rest of the main news. Enakonde resident Mlenga Mtale has reported the Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Chishimba Kambwili to Nakonde police station for allegedly giving wrong information to the police on the death of National Democratic Congress National Chairperson Obed Kasongo in 2019. In an interview, Mr. Mtale says Dr. Kambwili is on record openly telling the nation that embattled Kabushi Member of Parliament Boma Nusambo was the one responsible for the death of Mr. Kasongo, and he witnessed that. Meanwhile, police spokesperson Danny Mwale has confirmed having received the complaint from Mr. Mtale against Dr. Kambwili.
I've officially reported the former minister and the former MP for Loan, Dr. Chishimba Kambwili, today here at Nakonde police station for giving false information to the nation about the death of the late Obed Kasongo, who died in 2019. Dr. Kambwili openly told the nation that Mr. Obed was murdered by a known person who is Honorable Boma Nusambo, the Kabushi Member of Parliament. It was in public domain, it was everywhere. When he reported himself, of which he said he was the witness. It was so unfortunately, again, the same Dr. Kambwili came and tell the nation that Obed died of malaria. Now I want Dr. Kambwili to help us to understand where he got that information before the post-mortem report that Obed was murdered by.
Marketeers at Soweto Market have called for improved sanitation at the market if the issue of indiscriminate waste disposal is to be dealt with. Speaking to Camnet News, one of the marketeers, Messi Mubanga, says the council delays in the collection of garbage, which prompts them to indiscriminately dispose waste. Meanwhile, the Africa Climate and Environment Foundation Lusaka Province Coordinator, Raven Piri, says people should rise to the occasion and have a mindset shift in managing their waste. He says people should not wait for the council to keep their surroundings clean and conducive for trade, but rather they opt to dump waste in the allocated places so as to help the council to manage waste in the market.
Soweto HB Market is one of the biggest trading centers in Lusaka. However, due to its population, the market faces a lot of challenges in line with poor sanitation due to lack of proper waste management systems at the market. Speaking to Camnet TV News, one of the traders, Messi Mubanga, complained that the council is not consistent in their waste collection routines as waste goes for days without collection. Meanwhile, the Africa Climate and Environment Foundation, Lusaka Province Coordinator, Reverend Piri, in his sensitization toward the market, called on traders to take an active participative role in keeping the trading centers conducive for trade, adding that the indiscriminate dumping of plastic waste has long-term effects on the environment.
Activist Reverend Piri came here to sensitize the marketeers to make sure that they start dumping these small plastic of water called to Madrid to they start dumping them in places where council can collect, so that they work together with the council to clean the place, the market where they're trading. Most of the time there are problems where marketeers who are complaining that council C7, council C7, yet we are not doing our best to make sure that the council also do the job according to the way they're supposed to do. These Chiwanto bottles, blue plastic, if you look at it, they are everywhere and they don't decay. So this is the job I came to ensure.
Mr. Piri underscored the need for the marketeers to have a paradigm shift in how they view waste management, adding that the council and the market should work together to have a clean and safe environment for everyone. Mercy Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
The Center for Zero Waste and Development in Africa, CZWDA, has disclosed that it has received funds from International Pollutant Elimination Network to conduct research in single-use paper for packaging, throwaway packaging, forever chemicals in a bid to create an eco-friendly environment. CZWD Executive Director Billy Lombe says the research will help in fighting climate change contributors such as PE and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFS, which are an environmental and health hazard. He says the PFS are highly persistent and have negative impact on human fertility, fetal development, and thyroid hormone function. Mr. Lombe has, however, expressed optimism that the funding will help in raising awareness on the composition and concentrations of specific PFAS used in food contact materials. He says once the research on single-use food packaging and throwaway packaging forever chemicals is conducted, it will help create a healthier world where people and the environment are no longer harmed by the production, use and disposal of toxic chemicals.
This has come at the right time, which will contribute to the readily available data for policy influence and for the public to know what chemicals are contained in the single-use packaging, especially in the food industry. So Center for Zero Waste, of course, our organization is a member of IPEN, and IPEN is a global network forging a healthier world where people and the environment are no longer harmed by the production, use and disposal of toxic chemicals. So over 600 public interest NGOs in more than 120 countries, largely low and middle income countries, nations, comprise IPEN and work to strengthen global and national chemicals and waste policies, contribute to groundbreaking research such as this, which will be participating in, and build, of course, a global movement for a toxic-free future.
The Zambia Statistical Agency has reported that the export earning for refined copper in April 2022 stood at 12.1 million kwacha. Zamstat interim statistician General Mlenga Msepa, however, says the report's earning decreased by 12.9% from 13.9 billion kwacha recorded in March 2022. Mr. Mlenga says the reduction in export earnings can be attributed to the decrease in export volumes in April 2022 by 13% to 67.3 thousand metric tons from 77.4 thousand metric tons in April 2022. Mr. Mlenga also says copper prices on London Metal Exchange Market for the corresponding months decreased by 0.5%. And Mr. Mlenga says the annual inflation rate from May 2022 has decreased to 10.2% from 11.5% recorded in April 2022. The slowdown in the annual inflation rate was mainly attributed to price movement in both food and non-food items. Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu says his ministry has extended the deadline for the application of new timber concessions from 31st May 2022 to 30th June 2022. Mr. Nzovu says following an advertisement published in a daily tabloid on 14th April 2022 calling for application for new concession licenses, various stakeholders have raised concerns that they may fail to fulfill the requirement by the stipulated deadline. Mr. Nzovu says applicants are encouraged to go through all the requirement of the application process and submit to various offices of the Forestry Department across the country. The ministry further says no timber concession license shall be issued in a game management area without the express written consent of the Department of National Parks and Wildlife.
Following the advertisement that was published in the Zambia Daily Mail on 4th April 2022 calling for applications of new concession licenses, various stakeholders have raised concerns that they may fail to fulfill the requirements by the deadline. It is against this background that, in the spirit of being inclusive and economically empowering Zambian citizens, the government has decided to extend the deadline. Applicants are therefore encouraged to undertake all requirements of the application process and submit the same to the various offices of the Forest Department across the country as they wait for the decision letter for their environmental project brief from the Zambia Environmental Management Agency. After the close of the application period, that is on the 30th of June 2022, the Ministry will proceed with the evaluation of the application with the various applications. However, concession licenses will by law only be issued to successful applicants upon submission of a decision letter from ZIMA and an approved EPB. The Ministry further wishes to inform members of the public that no timber concession license shall be issued in a game management area without the express written consent of the Department of National Parks and Wildlife.
We take our second set of commercials. Coming next is international and sports news.
Special announcement. We regret to announce the postponement of the Love and Marriage Business Conference from the 28th May 2022 to a later date to be announced. We regret any inconveniences caused.
Only to find I'm rested.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We take risks every day, with some big things and some little things. Other risks are out of our control. But no matter what's important in your life, Savenda Insurance has got you covered. Whether it's for your home, vehicle, investments, or the people you love, you shouldn't have to worry about securing the future. Let us handle that. Since 2014, we have helped Zambians protect their health and personal property, offering peace of mind and fostering progress and development. Taking risks is what makes us grow. Insurance is what keeps us going strong. We take risks every day, with some big things and some little things. Other risks are out of our control. But no matter what's important in your life, Savenda Insurance has got you covered. Whether it's for your home, vehicle, investments, or the people you love, you shouldn't have to worry about securing the future. Let us handle that.
We now get into our international item. The Gambian government has said it will prosecute former President Yahya Jammeh for murder, rape, torture and other alleged crimes committed during his more than 20-year rule. The Ministry of Justice said on Wednesday that it accepted all but 2 of the 265 recommendations made by a commission that probed alleged crimes committed by the state under the despotic former leader from July 1994 to January 2017. The Commission's report, presented to President Adam Barrow and made public in December, was based on years of witness testimonies. Jammeh is currently living in exile in Equatorial Guinea, which has no extradition treaty with the Gambia. Here's a roundup of international news.
They came expecting disappointment. Survivors, victims' families, and activists. Among them, Yahya Jammeh's niece, Aissatou Haroun Jammeh, whose father and aunt disappeared in 2005. Their relatives accused the former ruler of killing them.
Being a victim of enforced disappearances, I know how it feels, and today it has been very emotional for me, especially when they said they're going to support families that haven't seen the remains of their loved ones. The government will ensure they will look for the bodies of those people and give them back to their families. I know it's going to be a very long process and a very draining one for that matter.
Considering the lack of forensic experts, she isn't putting all her hopes in finding the remains of her family anytime soon. Of the 256 recommendations by the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, only 2 were rejected by the government.
One of them is a recommendation against some judges that came to the Gambia from other countries and they were serving in our judiciary. So these foreign judges were characterized by the commission as mercenary judges.
But the government's position on former President Yahya Jammeh is what drew much applause from survivors and victims' families.
Former President Yahya Jammeh is considered to be one of those who bears the greatest responsibility of all the violations that happened under his rule. So he will face justice one way or the other.
And the government says it's taking steps to address the concerns of many Gambians. The July 22nd Arch is a monument built in 1996 to commemorate the coup that brought Yahya Jammeh to power. Now it's renamed the Never Again Arch, a slogan coined by the Gambia's Truth Commission. The government says a plaque listing the names of people killed by the Jammeh administration will be erected here to serve as a monument. It took the government 6 months to analyze and come up with a position on the Commission's recommendations, a result of 3 years of investigations and listening to harrowing testimonies from witnesses. It hopes the steps will afford the Gambia the opportunity to finally close one of the darkest chapters in its history.
Not for the first time, Boris Johnson apologised to MPs for parties during lockdown in Downing Street and government buildings.
And I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, above all, that I take full responsibility for everything that took place on my watch. We are humbled by the experience, and we have learned our lesson.
Details of 16 gatherings emerged in the long-awaited report into Partygate, so-called, by senior civil servant Sue Gray. It describes failings of leadership and judgment at the heart of government, a culture of excessive drinking, while too little thought, she says, was given to what was happening across the country. A police investigation handed 126 fines to 83 people in government, including one to the Prime Minister himself. Johnson believes the gatherings he attended, briefly, had been work-related and within the rules. What happened afterwards, he said, late night, drunken revelry, was news to him.
I had no knowledge of those subsequent proceedings because I simply wasn't there. And I have been as surprised and disappointed as anyone else in this House as the revelations have unfolded.
The opposition reacted with predictable fury.
This report will stand as a monument to the hubris and the arrogance of a government that believed it was one rule for them and another rule for everyone else.
Whether Johnson's future is in doubt depends on the response of MPs within his own party.
I made my point and my position very clear to the Prime Minister. He does not have my support. But a question I humbly put to my colleagues is, are you willing, day in and day out, to defend this behaviour publicly?
For months now, Conservative Party MPs have been saying that they would hold off triggering a leadership contest against Boris Johnson until the Sugray report was published. But the reality is there wasn't much in it that isn't already in the public domain. No major surprises. It may well be that the next benchmark against which the Prime Minister is to be judged is the question of whether he knowingly misled Parliament when he told MPs last December that no party had been held, no rules had been broken. If a pending parliamentary inquiry finds he did lie to MPs, that would be an offence for which a Prime Minister would be expected to resign. In the meantime, opinion polls suggest 59% of Britons think Johnson should resign anyway. The Partygate saga isn't over yet. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, London.
We now get into sports news. The Zambia Chess Federation President Mukubulo Chilufya is confident that the 10 players selected to participate in the 2022 Olympiad will bring back medals. In an interview with Camnet Sports, Chilufya says Zambia already has international masters such as Gilan Walia, who recently won the Minerva Zimbabwean Open tournament. Chilufya disclosed that the training for both male and female players is going on well ahead of the forthcoming tournament. India has been given the rights by the Federation International de Herches to host the FIDE 44th World Chess Olympiad 2022.
I can confirm that the players are well prepared. Recently, the top player, our highest rated player, I.M. Gilan Walia, who will be leading the team, even won the tournament in Zimbabwe. And that all the 5 female players are training well. 5 male players are also training pretty well. And I'm confident that as they represent Zambia in India in July, they will really soar the flag high. Zambia is the hub of the game in the region and will defend that status. We've got about 8 international masters, and in the national team we've got 3 of them in international master Chitumba Mwali, international master Gilan Walia, international master Richmond Piri, and FIDE master Naseru. So we'll protect the fact that we're the hub of the game in the region. We're the first to produce a grandmaster in Amon Simtoy, and that I'm confident as we travel to India, we will not go there as tourists. We'll go there to compete and bring the accolades to the country.
Still in sports, but on the international front in rugby, England's Mero Itoje says he will no longer sing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot because of its origins in slavery. The anthem has been sung by fans at England matches since 1987. The Rugby Football Union revealed the song's use in 2020 in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement, but chose not to ban it. Swing Low, Sweet Chariot is thought to have been composed by a slave called Wallace Wallace with his wife Minerva in the mid-1800s. English Rugby Governing Body produced a video explaining the song's historical context and withdrew its use from marketing and merchandising. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Over 300 residents of KAMPASA protest over land. Former LAS president backs the abolishment of death penalty. The state maintains that President HH was right to fire a High Court judge. And in international news, Gambian government to prosecute exiled ex-ruler JAMMEH. And in sports, the Chess Federation of Zambia confident of winning the 2022 Chess Olympiad. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of John 14 verse 1 to 2, and it reads, Your heart must not be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If not, I would have told you. I am going away to prepare a place for you. Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.